Imagine the allure of immortality, the seduction of power, and the thrill of the night. These are some of the reasons why the vampire myth has fascinated us for centuries. Vampires, those legendary creatures of the night, have long held a captivating charm. They are often portrayed as beings of immense power and beauty, wrapped in an aura of seductive mystery. Their immortal existence, their unyielding strength, and their ability to command the elements and creatures of the night all contribute to their allure. They are the masters of their world, free from the constraints of mortal life, existing forever in a state of eternal twilight. Popular culture has played a significant role in glamorizing these mythical beings. From the brooding romanticism of Bram Stoker's Dracula to the modern charismatic vampires of the Twilight series, these creatures have been romanticized and idolized. They are depicted as tragic heroes, cursed with immortality yet yearning for human connection. They are the rebels, the outcasts, the misunderstood souls, and their stories, despite their dark nature, often resonate with us on a deep, empathetic level. Yet it's not just their power and immortality that draws us in. The vampire myth also speaks to our fascination with the unknown, the supernatural, and the macabre. It's a thrilling escape from the mundane, a journey into a world of shadows and secrets where anything is possible. Moreover, the vampire myth taps into one of our most primal fears and desires, the fear of death and the desire for eternal life. Vampires, in their immortal state, defy death, transcending the limitations of human existence. They embody a tantalizing possibility, the chance to live forever, to witness the passage of time without aging, without fading. And this, perhaps more than anything else, is what makes the vampire myth so irresistible. But where did these myths originate, and why have they captivated us for so long? Let's delve deeper into the origins and the spread of these vampire myths in the next scene. Dive into the shadows of history, where the vampire myth was born. The concept of a creature that sustains its life by feasting on the life force of others is deeply rooted in ancient folklore. Many cultures, from the Assyrians and Babylonians to the Romans and Greeks, spun tales of these nocturnal predators, each adding their unique flavor to the terrifying mix. In Eastern Europe, for instance, the vampire was often depicted as a reanimated corpse, rising from its grave to drain the living of their blood. This belief was so widespread that it was not uncommon for graves to be disturbed, and bodies staked or decapitated, to prevent the deceased from returning as vampires. On the other hand, Asian vampire myths often portrayed these creatures as demonic spirits, possessing the bodies of the dead and wreaking havoc among the living. Some of these spirits were said to consume blood, while others were more interested in the victim's energy or ki. The vampire myth truly spread its wings, however, with the advent of the printing press in the 15th century. Suddenly, these local legends could travel across continents, infecting the minds of people far and wide. Each new region the myth reached added its own twist, further fueling the vampire's transformation into the seductive, immortal creature we recognize today. The 19th century saw the vampire myth solidify into the form we are most familiar with, largely thanks to literature. The publication of John Polidori's The Vampire in 1819, followed by Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1897, forever etched the image of the suave, aristocratic vampire into popular consciousness. Over time, the vampire myth has been adapted and reinterpreted countless times, reflecting the fears and desires of each era. From the monstrous revenants of ancient folklore to the romantic anti-heroes of modern fiction, the vampire remains a potent symbol of our collective fears and fantasies. While these myths are fascinating, they are just that, myths. But could there be a shred of truth in them? The desire to become a vampire can sometimes stem from medical or psychological conditions. Now that's a statement that makes you raise an eyebrow, doesn't it? But let's dive a little deeper into this. First, let's talk about a rare medical condition called porphyria. This disorder affects the production of heme, a substance vital to the body's ability to carry oxygen. Symptoms can include sensitivity to sunlight, blisters, and even changes in the color of urine and feces. Some have suggested that these symptoms, particularly the sunlight sensitivity, might have contributed to the vampire myth. After all, our legendary bloodsuckers are notorious for avoiding the light of day, aren't they? But it's not just physical conditions that can play a role in this fascination with vampirism. There's a psychological condition known as Renfield syndrome, named after the character in Bram Stoker's classic novel, Dracula. Individuals with this syndrome have a compulsion to drink blood, It's a rare condition, but one that certainly adds another layer to our understanding of the vampire myth. There are also social and cultural factors that can contribute to the desire to become a vampire. The allure of immortality, the seductive power, the sense of being different or special, all these can be powerful draws for some people. And let's not forget the influence of popular culture, with its glamorous and often romanticized depictions of vampires. However, it's important to remember that these medical and psychological realities are far from the glamorous vampire life depicted in myths. Porphyria is a serious and often debilitating condition. Renfield syndrome is a mental health disorder that requires treatment. And the desire to be a vampire often stems from a sense of dissatisfaction or disconnection with one's own life. So while it's fascinating to explore these links between real-world conditions and the vampire myth, we should never lose sight of the fact that these are real conditions affecting real people. They're not just plot points in a gothic horror story. However, these conditions are far from the glamorous vampire life depicted in myths. Scene script. Science has a way of debunking myths, and the vampire myth is no exception. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of vampire lore, blood-sucking and immortality. Now these traits sound fascinating, don't they? But from a scientific standpoint, they're more fiction than fact. Firstly, blood-sucking. Humans, like all mammals, have a digestive system designed to break down a variety of nutrients, but not blood. Consuming blood in large quantities can lead to a condition called hemochromatosis, which causes an overload of iron in the body. Not exactly the glamorous eternal life you'd imagine for a vampire, is it? Next, we have the concept of immortality. The human body is a complex machine, and like all machines, it wears out over time. Our cells have a pre-programmed lifespan, and while certain creatures like jellyfish and lobsters exhibit biological immortality, humans unfortunately do not share this trait. The aging process is inevitable, and no amount of blood-sucking can change that. So, what about the transformation into a vampire? Well, there's no scientific evidence to support this either. Genetically, we humans are stuck with what we've got. There's no known mechanism that could trigger such a dramatic change in our physiology. Thus, based on scientific and medical explanations, becoming a vampire is a myth. The allure of vampires, their mystique and their power, all stem from our fascination with the unknown. But when we shine the light of science on these creatures of the night, we find that they remain firmly in the realm of fiction. The myths and realities surrounding the desire to become a vampire are as different as night and day. Let's take a quick journey back to what we've just discussed. The allure of vampires, the romanticized immortality, the power, the charm, all these are deeply engraved in our popular culture, fueling myths and legends. But these are exactly that, myths. Stories spun from human imagination, reflected in tales and cinema, perpetuating the desire to transcend human limitations. We've also dissected the medical and psychological realities that could explain some aspects of the vampire myth. Conditions like porphyria, or psychological phenomena like Renfield syndrome, while fascinating, are in no way indicators of a vampire's existence. They are merely human conditions, sometimes tragically misunderstood. And then, there's the science. The cold, hard, unromantic science that firmly grounds us in reality. The traditional characteristics of vampires, such as blood-sucking and immortality, are physically impossible and incompatible with the human body. Our bodies are amazing, complex organisms, but they are bound by the laws of nature. So where does this leave us? Vampires, as we know them from myths and popular culture, are fictional characters. The desire to become a vampire, to possess their alleged powers and immortality, is a yearning for the impossible. The realm of vampires is a realm of fantasy, not reality. Remember, the allure of the vampire myth lies in its mystery and romanticism, but the reality is far from it. Our journey into the world of vampires has been both fascinating and enlightening. We've delved into the allure of these nocturnal creatures, tracing the origins of vampire myths and how they've spread across cultures and time. We've confronted the medical and psychological realities that have, in their own strange way, fed into these myths. Rare conditions like porphyria and psychological conditions such as Renfield syndrome have added layers of complexity to our understanding of this phenomenon. Science, too, has had its say. We've examined the traditional vampire characteristics like blood-sucking and immortality, only to find them physically impossible and incompatible with the human body. Yes, the world of vampires is a fascinating one, but it remains firmly rooted in the realm of fiction. It's important to distinguish between myths and reality, to separate the allure of the story from the truths of our world. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing content.